So I want to know what are you girls kind of studying right now? Are you in computer science engineering or any other stream? And what year of study you are? Second years, third years, fourth years, third year. Great. First year. Wow, it's amazing. People participating in such a large scale hackathon, national scale hackathon from first year onwards. It's a really good thing. Participating in hackathons or computer science competitions, it really gives you a lot of how should I say confidence while making presentations and also for working on real scale problems, real world problems. So it's really good if you are participating. You're in first, second year, and you're participating in hackathons. I think I also started participating in hackathons from my first year onwards. And at the start, you don't win a lot, but you gain a lot of experience. And then once you have gained a lot of experience, then you just start winning. So it's really important.
Amazing. And with this, it's time. So, Sakshi, where's Sakshi? I guess she is having network issues.
Good evening.
Yeah.
Is my voice audible to you?
No, it's not audible.
Okay.
Maybe there is a network issue.
Can you hear me?
Okay, no worries.
Oh,
I'll take over. I'll take over. So, first of all, thank you so much, everyone, every 77 of you. And thanks, Tanisha, for coming for this wonderful night. And the session is going to be pretty amazing. And we would like to welcome Miss Tanisha Singh. You all know that she's an OG. She is Google Girl Hackathon 2024 winner. And today's session is going to be really, really amazing. So just brace yourself with all the doubts you may have. And just give me a second. Yeah. So we would like to welcome Miss Tanisha so that she can share all her insights, experiences about Google Girl Hackathon and can guide all of you. So the stage is all yours, Tanisha. And if everyone have any kind of questions, then it depends. Tanisha can guide that she wants to take the Q&A at the end or in between the session. And yes, ta-da!
Okay,
With this, the
so
session starts.
hello everyone. I'm Tanisha Singh. I'm currently in my fourth year of BTech CSE at Bennett University, and I'm working as an AIML intern right now. So, like I said, like I've been participating in lots of CSE competitions, hackathons, project showcases from my first year onwards, and I have won 8 of them till now. So it's an absolute pleasure to be here today, speaking as the previous winner of Google Girl Hackathon 2024, and sharing my journey with you all. So I'm really excited to hear what your questions are, but I think I'll explain the whole procedure, my own experience, and at the end we can have any questions for a smoother conduct of the session. Is that all right? Okay. Okay, so I think start. So I think a lot of you have already registered for Google Girl Hackathon. I think the registration date ends by tomorrow, if I'm not wrong. And uh, I think a brief introduction about that hackathon would be that it's a virtual hackathon for all female students in any college in India, and you can participate if you are studying computer science or any other related fields. And this is like not like other hackathons where you have to work in teams to make projects. You have this hackathon is a solo hackathon. You have to do individual participation. So make sure of that. So other than that, like we can start with the whole process. The first, I think, if we have to divide this hackathon in brief, like very broadly into stages, and there would be 3 stages. I think first would be resume shortlisting, second would be the coding round, and third would be the hackathon. Inside the hackathon, we have 2 more rounds, but broadly, these are the 3 main rounds. So the first round is resume shortlisting. So I think that if you participate and if you register, you will most probably be selected to participate in this hackathon. But your resume, I think, should fit into the normal resume patterns. Like use a good resume format, and you don't need to like have any prior hackathon experience or prior internship experience to participate here. You will be selected if you have mentioned, your academic background, your projects, your technical skills, and other fields are important in a resume. So I'm sure that all of you would have prepared a resume of yourself and for what all you have done. So mention that and make sure that it's in a good concise format, the type of formats that we use for professional manners. Like I think you can Google any computer science engineer fresher resume format, and you can start with that. Make sure it's one page long only, because we are all freshers. So I don't think we would have any content which would exceed one page. If it exceeds, then maybe limit it to one page. And if you have, this is basically all there is to kind of make the resume. There is no such thing that your resume should have a lot of achievements or lot of internships in order to be selected here. So now I'll kind of answer the questions at the end of the session. Okay. So uh, after that, after resume shortlisting, we all got an introductory call, introductory session where we were introduced the about the theme of the hackathon and the details. So there were a lot of Google's keynote speakers, and they were talking a lot about the experiences and also told a lot about the hackathon. So when the hackathon starts, they inform you of what the stages would be, what the timeline is, and what you're expected to make and what you're expected to do here. So if there are any other changes from what I'm speaking, you can actually clear them out in the first introductory session only. And we were told that the theme of the year was using AI for innovation. So I kept that in mind, and I kept that in mind for my hackathon round, which is the last round, to make a project. All right. So this is basically the first round summarized. Now the second round is basically like it's not a second round. After introductory session, we were introduced for learning cohort workshops, which were led by Google specialists, Google employees themselves. So we had two workshop sessions, which I was really glad I was a part of. One was for communication and interview readiness, and the other one was for software engineering practices. So these workshops, they don't only just gave us some insights for the hackathon and advices for the hackathon, but also they gave us career insights and industry best practices, because I mean they are people, they're Google employees, and they're kind of the best in their fields. So to learn from their own experiences and from themselves, it's a very big thing. So I hope that you attend those learning cohort sessions and incorporate whatever you have learned into your project and in all the projects you're going to make. So after these workshops, we were told that we would have an elimination round, which I think is the it's the first major elimination round, which is the Google Online Challenge. So it's basically a coding round where you have to solve two coding questions in 60 minutes. So a lot of people get eliminated from this round, and I would advise everyone that maybe start preparing for this round from today itself. So the questions that come, they are pretty tough. Like, I mean, not tough. They are just lead code medium hard or lead code hard questions. So there are questions like if they're giving you 60 minutes to solve two questions, then I mean, we kind of know what type of complexity those questions would comprise of. So I would advise you guys to brush up on your DSA concepts from today onwards only. And if I have to advise you on some particular data structures, algorithms, then I would say, binary search, graphs, heaps, trees, and DP, dynamic programming, is really important. And brush up on these topics and other advanced data structures. And another advice that I would like to give is that I used to solve a lot of lead code contest, because it gave me the experience of solving questions in like a time constrained environment. So that was really important for me, and it was really important for me. Basically, it gave me the experience that I needed to solve questions that are difficult and that I haven't seen before in a very time constrained environment. So I think you can also solve Recode contest, or if you're already doing competitive programming, then I think you're good to go. It will give you enough experience. So after that, I think one day or this that same day, I got the mail that I've passed that round, and then we were given hackathon round statements. So we were given three domains, and we had to choose. Like we were given three problem statements, and we had to choose which problem statement we want to make a project on. So it was our choice. I think. So I chose the third problem statement, which was for disaster relief. I chose that problem statement because actually I always wanted to make a prototype in that in that problem statement. Okay, मुश्किल नहीं होगा कुछ भी इतना मत सोचो. But I think the three problem statements that were given to us was one was for healthcare, one was for education, and the other one was for disaster relief. So I chose disaster relief because I've always wanted to make a project on it, and I thought like this is basically a sign that I have to choose it and have to make a project, and I was really glad for that opportunity. So in those problem statements, you also get some guidelines like what you can do to solve questions, and if there is some like if you want to like I don't remember the other problem statements for the other domains, but we were in disaster relief. We were told that we have to use satellite imagery and stuff. So I thought this is a great project to choose. Now in the hackathon round, we were given 4 days to prepare our hackathon solution prototype, the first solution prototype. So after those 4 days, we had to submit a GitHub README file and the GitHub repo link, and also a design document. So the design document basically, explained the problem that we're solving and our own approach, how we are solving that problem, why is the solution innovative, what is the novelty in that solution, and what is the, real impact of your solution. Like what are you actually solving? And it hasn't been solved before, or it has or are you producing any more improvements in the solution that you already have, that is already present there. Sorry. Okay. So the design document is pretty intensive, and I would advise you guys, from my own experience, that don't wait for the last day to make it. You have to, I think, once you get a clear idea of what your project would look like, start making the design document. Detailing what the problem is that you're solving, the solution, the approach, and in the last day, you can just make some final touches. So now coming back to my own experience and my own project. So I think I spent 2 days of those 4 days purely on research. Like I wanted to really research what problems there are that I can solve in disaster relief using AI. So it took a lot of time, and I've actually, like, in hackathons it happens a lot that you make a plan A and you think that this is going to work, but after some time it doesn't, and you have to make a plan B because you have less time, less resources, and it's an individual competition as well. So you have to make sure that your okay, so you have to make sure that you don't waste time having really good and extensive projects. Basically, like I think that you can make a really good project given you have the time and resources, but you also have to be realistic what you can make in 4 days or 5 days, something like that. So be realistic about what your project is going to be, and I would say research a lot. Like, because if you are not clear on what problem you're solving or what solution you're going to make, what the impact your solution has, so that would kind of be a hinder for you in your presentation round and while making the design document. Add statistics and for your problem statement to kind of make it like a very conclusive and comprehensive problem statement that you're solving. Add statistics and what the today's scenario is of the solution that you want to bring out in the world. So my solution, I had three features. One was for detecting early wildfires from satellite images. Second one was for flood victim detection and water level classification from drone images. And the third one was for damage assessment of floods using satellite images. I think you can make one or two feature as well. Like there is no such necessary that you have to make a lot of features or you have to like have lots of things developed. I would recommend you that you choose one or two things that you need to develop or you need to make and develop them fully. Because if you are doing a lot of things and you are, what happens is that in hackathon you plan a lot that you're going to do five or six things, but if you're not able to do even like half of them, then that gives a really bad impression, and it also wastes your time a lot. So if you think that you can use those 4 days to make one feature really extensively and really amazingly, that everyone is going to use it and it's going to really solve a good solution, solve a good problem, then do that. Otherwise, instead of using more features, making more features, because the basically the I think the key note here that I think we can all understand here is that you have to make a solution that has some impact. It should not be a solution which you have to that there okay, sorry, actually right, I'm speaking for a lot of times. I'm like uh, I'm going to get a water break right now. Hope it's fine.
Yeah, yeah, sure. It's totally. Even I also need water. Everyone needs water breaks, so let's drink some water. Get dehydrated, okay?
Yeah, I hope I'm not just speaking too quickly and and kind of confusingly. So right now, does anyone like have a good grasp of what has been right? Like no one has any like, does anyone want me to go over something that I've already gone through right now?
No, I guess it's good to go.
Okay.
And just a second, Renu Kumari, can you please switch off your mic? Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you so much, guys. Okay, so yeah, so as I was explaining, that if you make one feature that is really well developed and it solves the problem that you're proposing, and that is better than making lots of features that don't have that have a very vague idea of what they're going to solve. Okay, so I think like I would also tell you guys that my ideas, like my three features, they were like very kind of difficult to develop in that short time, and I had to like because they are AI solutions, and I had to train the models and fine tune them. And because I was using satellite imagery, so they were like very big models, and it took a lot of time. So I think I used Google Colab and Kaggle GPUs, and I think you can use them too. I think they are free, like only for some time. After that, they expire very quickly. But if you think that you're going to make a very big model, then I would say that you can procure a resource beforehand. It's much better that way. Also, another thing that it doesn't need to be a very AI trains model type of thing. Like, I mean, that time the theme was using AI for innovation, but the other projects that were there in the hackathon, they were also like some people used full stack all the way, and had really very less AI implication. But the feature that they had was really was kind of solving the problem, and the UI that they made was also really good and it was very accessible. So you can also solve different sorts of the same problem. Like, I'll come to this point later on. So after submitting all these things, I think after 5 days, I got the mail that I was selected as the finalist, and after that, I think we were given 2 3 days to prepare for the presentation round, which is the final round. So in the presentation round, we have to create a presentation and present a solution present a solution to the Google employees and the Google specialists, the judges. So it was a pretty big deal, and I was a little nervous. So in those 2 3 days, you were given time to make your presentation, and you were also given time to make a video. I think for your project, like how it works. And at that, I also utilize that time to kind of like make a UI, a loose UI for my projects, so that can be used by people, and I deployed it. And I also kind of so that anyone who is using the project from the link can kind of see it for themselves that the AI models are giving a good result or not. So I think that was it that I've done in the 2 3 days for preparation. After that, in the final presentation, we were given 7 minutes to present our ideas and 3 minutes for Q&A session. So the questions were asked by the judges. So I think there were like 40 to 50 finalists, and we were divided into many groups. So each group had like around 3 judges, 2 to 3 judges, a panel of 2 to 3 judges. So I would like to say like everyone that were there in the final round, like I was thinking that while it is taking time for me to for it, it's like it's taking time to come for my presentation. I'll just prepare my presentation again. But there I was basically engrossed in their own presentations because everyone had amazing presentations. They had amazing presentation skills, and the solutions were amazing. So it's basically at that time I kind of like it felt that this is like the nationwide top people who are here, and they have amazing solutions. But it was like I kind of also took some tips from their presentation. One was for to speak more clearly, speak slowly, and explain everything. I would also like to give this advice that don't use a lot of fancy words or anything. If you are comfortable, just explain it, because the people that you're explaining to are also human beings, and at the end of the day they want to see what result you are kind of giving, instead of what fancy presentation that you have made. So if your project is good and it's giving value to the society, it's giving value to the problem that you have introduced, then it's a good project, and you have to explain it as such. If you use a lot of fancy words and stuff, then sometimes it kind of gives the idea that you are yourself not clear what the project is doing. So there's a like fine line for that, and you'll have to work on that. So okay, so I think any other presentation tips that I would like to give would be be prepared for the Q&A round. So the presentation that you're giving to are Google specialists, Google employees, okay? And I'm telling you, they are the best of the fields. So the questions that they ask, sometimes I don't want any one of you to be caught off unguarded, that you're given a question that you've never heard, you've never thought about this question before, because their questions mainly detail of some design related issue in your project, or any scalability issue, or covering any edge cases in your problem. Like suppose your problem is to solve a problem A, like any problem A, and maybe because you were making a very big project, you kind of overlooked the fact that there is a very small thing which can like it can basically disorient your project. So okay, so one example that I would like to give is that in my second feature, it was that I have to detect flood victims using my drone images. So there is a very big design problem here, and can anyone guess what the problem would be? Like you can write it on the chat.
Anyone think. Time is ticking. Hurry up.
Okay, so I'll repeat the question. So in my three features, in my second feature, I was solving that I was kind of classifying or detecting flood victims using drone images. So what is the issue in this feature? Okay, actually, the issue is like really simple. If I tell you, you guys would be like, "What the hell?" It's like kind of okay. All right. So I'll just say the answer. Yeah, actually, it's visibility. So if I'm using in the time of floods, when there is a very big havoc going on, and I'm using drones. How are drones going to even fly in those areas which are affected by floods and going to detect good images? So while I was making, actually, I kind of forgot it. And after a while, like when I was like kind of practicing my presentation, I thought of this and I thought like this is like, this is something which is an issue in design. I've made this whole project, but I don't know like what drone should I use or not. So after that, I researched, and that's why I'm telling you that you should spend time on researching. And I researched that drones having an IP45 rating are very suitable for rain affected areas or flood affected areas, and they can help to classify. They can help capturing images that are good to be considered for classification and detection of flood victims. So, and similarly, the data set that I used for that specific feature, it had images that were little like less on visibility. The images, they were not really clear, and I think that's the biggest difficulty in this whole feature, that you're going to get pictures that are not going to be having a good visibility. So how are you going to detect people from that? So that is what that feature itself focused on. So similarly, like I'm saying that use this as an example, uh, that you can be asked different questions and you can know that there are lots of edge cases in your solution. So you should kind of be well versed with what your whole solution is. It doesn't matter. You don't need to make 3 features or 5 features. Even if you're making one feature, just be confident that if any question is asked from your project in that one feature, you are able to answer every question, whether it's a design related question, whether it is a scalability question or the future uses, any drawbacks or any edge cases, because it's an individual hackathon. So you are solely going to make that solution yourself. So you should know everything about that project. So I think that was the final round, and after that, I think after like an hour or something, we were told the results, and I was like really happy about that. And yeah, thank you so much. And I think that was my whole experience. I think we can start with the Q&A now.
So amazing. Just hang on, everyone. If you want to say in the mic, I'll take the questions. First of all, I want to take the questions before 8:30 p.m. That was in the chat section. Then, if you want to ask the question, you can just switch on your mic and can ask. Then I'll take the chat section question. Okay. Just let me go to the topmost and filter the question for Tanisha. Okay. Yeah. So Kavi is asking, is there any kind of selection based on resume? Yeah, there is.
Yes, there is. So, I think if we take the questions right now, because I mean they can ask questions, the same questions again, right?
Yeah, that would be great. Okay. So first of all, if anyone wants to ask the question in the mic, they can just raise your hands and one by one we can speak. Then we can go with the chat section. Yeah, Shilpa, you can go on.
I just wanted to ask, like, you made models where you can detect like people in the flood. So, what resources like did you use to train the model? So,
Okay, so basically, like when I was making for, I kind of like made a brief outline of what all problems I'm going to cover. So I covered 2 3 problems, which was early wildfires and floods. So in floods, when I was thinking about it, so I couldn't get a really good data set where I could kind of like train my model for that. Uh, but I think I fine tuned the YOLO V8 model according to a custom trained data set. I think you can use RoboFlow for it. I used it and I got to know about it during the hackathon only. This is really good. You can make your own data set as well, and had to kind of make it myself in order to train it, because the visibility. In fact, even if you like search for some flood related data sets, no, then you'll also get data sets with less visibility if they are drone images. If they are like DSLR images or something, then you're going to get a really good data set. But if they are drone images, then you're going to get less visibility only. So I fine tuned YOLO V8 on those data sets.
okay, got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone wants to ask? Uh, Yeah, Inky, you can go on.
Hi, Danisha. As you said that you made your project in AI/ML, so you had the knowledge in it before the hackathon started.
Mm, knowledge in like AI/ML or like
Yes, exactly. I mean, you had
yeah,
the knowledge of AI/ML. You
yeah,
learned it.
so I love AIML and I've been like making a lot of projects in that, and
Okay.
it's like it's some I'm also like working as an AIML engineer as well. So it is something that I have a lot of great fondness for. So I've already prepared a lot, and I think yeah. So I was in my I was in my sixth semester when this hackathon happened. So from I have started making projects in AIML back from my third semester. So yeah, I had
So,
kind of lots of experience on it.
so like,
But it was my
if
first time how kind of working with satellite imagery
okay, so if I'm learning web development now, so can I make project in it with that tech stack?
in
Is it?
web development.
Yes. Is it necessary to use AI/ML?
No, no, no. It's not necessary to use AML. Listen, your problem statement will dictate what you will do. Okay. So,
Okay.
I think if you're given a lot of choices of problem statements, then you have to. I think there may be a problem statement where we didn't have to make a full on AIML project. That you had to make an application or where you have to make a website because that is what the ask is for. So you can do that, and you can use your full stack skills. In fact, I think full stack skills come really handy in hackathons. I mean, in fact, I also had to deploy my project somewhere. So you can use web development. I would say having a little bit of knowledge everywhere, because I don't know what the problem statements you guys will get. So maybe kind of expand your knowledge a little, but I don't think it is something that like requires a lot of attention right now.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Inky. And Aditi, you can go on, please.
Yes, I wanted to ask Tanisha that, like in AI projects, the accuracy and all is asked the main thing. So,
Mhm.
what was the results for your features that you implemented?
Okay, I don't remember the exact number
So,
right now, but okay, so accuracy metrics, I had to mention them in my presentation. I also mentioned them in my design documents in whatever I submitted, because as you said, AI models, they have to be presented with an accuracy metric. Okay, so I don't have the number with me, but I fine tuned it up to the possibility of having like, I think 90%, 94% around that, because their satellite images and had very less time. So it was up till 90, 94%. But I was pretty happy with that result. One thing I would like to mention here, that if you're going to make EML projects, you should also use accuracy metrics that are associated with your like models. So for instance, if I'm using YOLO V8, or I'm using something like for object detection, and then I have to use a accuracy metric for that. So there I have to use, if I'm not wrong, what was it? Okay, so there was accuracy metric. Yeah, map, mean average precision, I think something like that. So we had to use that for YOLO V8. Then for my flood segmentation model, I had to use area under the curve. So there are like different accuracy models, accuracy metrics that you have to use for your respective models. I think we are also like taught about it, so you can Google it and it will be like given to you very easily.
okay. And one more question, that where did you deploy your, which
Oh,
platform did you use?
I had very less time, so I made a Streamlit application for it, and I gave the link. So it was deployed, and it was deployed on Streamlit. Yeah, the
Okay.
models, they were hosted on cloud. So YOLO V8 model was hosted on RoboFlow, and the other two models, I think they were hosted on Google Cloud.
Okay.
Amazing. Chavi, please go on.
Hi, I'm Chavi and I'm in first year AIML. I want to ask your learning resources. Like, I have zero knowledge about AI. I really want to learn before my sitting here.
Okay, okay. Sure, this is it's great. So for learning resources, okay, um, I think like okay, so everyone has different resources, and I really can't recommend you if that's what you're asking me that I have to recommend you some playlist or some resources because I actually didn't use much. One thing that I learned a lot from was making projects. So I used to make projects, and then I used to I think in each semester I used to make like around 2 3 different projects, personal projects. So for that, from that I learned writing papers about it and learning about the already existing models here and how I can improve them, how I can use them, and what is not there which I can contribute. So this is how I kind of learned. So if you want to know about the basics of AIML, I think I learned my basics um, in my classes at college and also from I think okay, so you can use I don't remember the name of that YouTuber. I'll have to search. Wait a second. He was really helpful to me in my second year when I had to learn the basics of AIML. But I'll give you the name in the chat or I'll mention it once again. I think was yeah, I'll mention it. Don't worry, okay? But like I said, I feel like a lot of people get stuck in just watching videos and just learning the theory. But the main thing is having hands-on practice with AIML and data science. So you should do that. Uh, I think it was Krish Naik videos that I learned. I think the ML playlist of Krish Naik, that was the one which was important. Yeah. So Krish Naik videos. Yeah. Oh, Aditi also like mentioned here.
It's amazing. Anna, you can ask your question.
Okay, so first of all, hello Dee. And my question is that while registering for the hackathon, there is a mandatory field for your college email. But as of now, I don't have any college email. So what am I supposed to do? Like put my primary email once again or put my secondary email in there?
You don't have a college email? Like, is this your first year or something?
Yeah, it's my first year actually.
Okay. I feel like maybe, reach out to the email ID that's, I think, present in the Google Girl Hackathon registration form. Like, if you like contact us in that form, reach out there and tell them that you don't have a college email ID. Because I think college email ID, they are asking for it because they want to make sure that you guys are all college students, aren't currently college. So, for that purpose, so I don't think if you write your personal email again, then that might get you not qualified for that for the hackathon. So please reach out to them. Okay.
Okay, Dee, I will do the same. And my second question was like, what part does a resume play? Like, what are first year students expected to have in a resume that would increase the selection chances?
Hmm. Okay. So all right. I really don't think that there is a very big distinction, like a very big how should I say, like I don't think resume shortlisting is going to play a very big elimination round in this hackathon. I think I feel like if you guys are applying for lots of competitions or anywhere, then they will ask for your resume because you're a college student and you're expected to have a resume ready. So if you're in your first year, you can mention, like I said, you can mention your projects that you've worked or like you're currently working on, and your technical skills that you're interested to work on or you are working on, you have already worked on, and your achievements, if any extracurricular activities, you can also write that, like if you have any PORs or if you are in any computer science related club or something. I feel like that is also helpful, but also like keep in mind that they want a resume just to make sure that you're a college student. I feel like, I mean, I can be wrong, but I think that will be the only distinction. They also know that you're in first year, so they don't expect that you have invented something or made a really big project. So don't be stuck on that. Just make a good resume and submit it.
Also, my last question is like, are the kind of questions different for people from different years, or is there nothing like this?
Like which kind of questions?
Um, So what I know of from a lot of YouTube videos that I watched for this, like in 2023, there was this OA which happened first, and then the students were divided into learning cohorts. But in 2024, it was not the same. So order changed. So if the OA happens maybe this year, then what kind of questions would be like expected, or are they like different for different years, or they are pretty similar?
Um, okay, I actually don't know like if they're going to be different for different years, but what I think that would be the case is that they would have a question bank of lots of coding questions, right? And everyone would be given random questions. I don't think that they would be giving you questions based on what your year is or what your like academic background is. I think in my year it happened that way. But like you said, in 2023, there was an OA before, and then there was learning cohort, and I think there was another OA afterwards, another online round or something. So as I can say, I can't really ensure anything that would happen in your time of hackathon, but I would just say like I think focus on what you can do instead of focusing on what you cannot do. You can kind of prepare on your DSA concepts and prepare like the questions that I told you about. If you don't want, if you think that DSA is kind of like you don't have good DSA practice, then that doesn't matter anything. Like you can just prepare your arrays, strings, and whatever you want to do, whatever you can do, prepare that and just give the online challenge. And if you're selected, then that's really good. But if you're not, then I think you guys are in your first year, second year, so no one it's fine. You can just prepare for it next year as well. But this will be a very big um, opportunity for you, and you'll learn a lot from it. So don't get stuck upon these things. So what I'm saying is that your resume should look like a resume in a given format. If you don't have a lot of achievements, experiences, or things to kind of write on your resume, it's fine. Just fill your resume and make a good format. And I feel like if first or second years, if they are participating in this hackathon and they are wanting to make a resume, then it's good for them that you're making a resume from now on. I feel like look for like the shorter wins or the smaller wins, sorry, and be happy with them. You don't need to I mean, no one is expecting first or second years to have like a very good resume or very good detailed projects or something. But you're participating and you're going to experience, a really good hackathon somewhere where you can learn a lot of things. I mean, the best part about this hackathon, I would say, is uh, the things you learn. Okay, I mean, I'm sure like one, I think one of you would win, and a lot of you guys would come and be the finalist. So I would say that learn what from this experience, and this is a very good chance to interact with Google specialists themselves. And I've been like saying this again and again, but they are at the top of the fields, and when you interact with people like that, you gain a better perspective of things. You gain a better perspective of what you want to do and what you can do, and basically you gain a better perspective and better skills to work on. So this is really helpful for everyone and for all of us as college students. So kind of focus on that.
Okay, nice, amazing. So Siddhi is asking, I guess she has three questions, but the main question is, did you solve all the test cases in your coding round?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Any suggestions for second year girls? I guess that's been covered. And how can I prepare for DSA round? I can that's also been covered, right?
Yeah, solve. Okay, so prepare as much as you can. I'm telling you, start preparing for the DSO, the coding round from today itself, and focus on concepts that you haven't done. If you guys are like, I would say like for third or fourth years, people who have already had some experience in DSA, okay, brush up on your advanced data structures and the topics that I've told, like binary search, dynamic programming, heaps, graphs, trees, and any other advanced data structure that you can think of. And for people who are like starting from the DSA journey, you can start with it and solve as many questions as you want to, but have a better grasp of it. What I've seen is that people who are doing solving questions and starting their DSA journey, they just want to finish it in like 1 month, 2 months, or something. And I'll tell you, as a fourth year student, it never ends. Okay, so don't rush, because it should not happen like you have solved 70 questions, like 70 concepts or something in like 2 months, and when I'm asking you a concept of arrays or prefix sums that you've already solved, you're not able to answer that, because that just kind of demotivates you. So just have this thing that whatever you're doing it with full perfection or full effort. So if you are solving only in 1 month, if you can complete up to strings, which is also a very good thing, then it should be like that. If I ask any question from strings, you're able to answer it. If that is one thing that you have covered, then I would say that you guys are going to end up at a really good place, at a really good company, because this skill is really important.
Okay, I guess that answers the question. And Aparna is asking what was the level of questions in DSA? I guess that also been covered, but if you want to add something.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, I mean, there are two questions that are going to be solved in 60 minutes. So they were, in my opinion, they were lead code. Like the questions that I got, it was one was lead code medium hard and one was lead code hard. So yeah, I think some people got two lead code medium hard questions. So you can solve accordingly.
Okay, nice. Avni says, can you please suggest resources or roadmap which you followed for learning AI and ML?
Okay, so Krish Nayak, I guess it
Yes.
like I kind of used him for my basics, and afterwards I just solved projects and I started learning from research papers and stuff. So I didn't really like use a lot of certificates or courses or something.
Okay, nice. Uh, Syed Nazim says, what's the best way to learn and build projects in machine learning?
Hmm. Okay. Okay, so first thing is that the project that you're making, like what domain you're choosing, and if you're what problem that you're solving. If you are kind of like making a project, suppose in healthcare, you know, so there are lots of things of AI models that have kind of like, I would say, a reputation in healthcare, as in, like I said, like in my disaster relief project, I had a model of around 90% accuracy. If I have a healthcare model, an AI model in healthcare domain of 90% accuracy, then that's kind of like it's not good at all. Like in healthcare, it's like really bad if you have an accuracy of 90% accuracy, because in healthcare, when we are dealing with people's lives, and when there are cases of false positives that can be true, that can be high, and it can really impact people's lives, then we have to have an accuracy of 99% and more. So, uh, what domain you choose is important. And afterwards, don't, like I said, like in healthcare, you have this thing that you have to have a good accuracy, good precision, good recall. But in other projects like disaster relief or like I would say disaster relief, there is not that much of like, or if you are kind of doing anything related to something else, like I did a project where we had to do predictive maintenance of industrial machinery equipment. So for those equipments, if there is some less accuracy, then it won't impact a lot of loss or lot of damage. So there I can have less accuracy, and there I can play with a lot of techniques. So that's how you're going to do it. And I think one more tip that I would like to give is read a lot of research papers. Uh, I think 90% of whatever you choose, there is already going to be a solution for it, right? And you just have to find it, read it, and I would say, try, use your brain to see what you can offer here. Maybe it's obviously fine if you think that you cannot make something new, because it's a little difficult. But what can you make? Like, can you increase the accuracy of the already existing solution? Can you cut the cost of training of the already existing solution? Can you maybe cover a better edge case? Can you make that model accessible, like for healthcare models? Can you make it accessible to a lot of people who are not like people in villages who are not given much better healthcare? Can you make a good model accessible there? in those hospitals. So you have to see what improvements you can do. It's basically something which will kind of orient you into working to improve yourself and improve the other solutions. So like this is what I did. So I feel like this will be really helpful for people who are kind of coming up in AIML, and I think other journeys as well.
Okay, nice. I guess that answers the question of Bharti. And Bharti says when we will get to know about the problem statements at what stage?
Mm, when we will get the problem statements.
Yeah, get to know the problem
Okay.
statements.
Hmm. So I remember I got my problem statement after I cleared my coding round. But maybe you can be briefed about the problem statements in the introductory session as well. So it depends on hackathon to hackathon. Like what I've seen is that not each round is the same. Like in my year, things were different. In my previous year, in 2023, things were different. And I think now things are also going to be different. So I can't give you like a brief, like a very concise and kind of accurate thing about what's going to happen. But I would just say ki, you'll get to know the problem statements maybe in the learning cohorts or the introductory session, and if not then obviously after qualifying the coding rounds.
Okay, amazing. So Grace is asking, I'm a beginner and I did not start projects yet. So, but I know HTML and CSS. So, should I make projects in that? And I'm thinking of giving it a try. So, what is your suggestion, Didi?
Yeah, sure. Give it a try and make project. If you want to make a project using what you know, then that's good. I feel like hackathons, like they are a very good opportunity to learn something new. Because what us college students do is that we procrastinate a lot when learning something new. Okay, if I tell you that you have to learn AIML and you are given like 9 months, I think most of the people are like going to sit back and relax and not get back to action. But when you're given like 3 days or 4 days, maybe you can learn JavaScript, and you can learn React.js and make a really good fine UI, and also maybe you can also learn to deploy it. So take things step by step, know what you can do, know what your ability is, and just do your best. So obviously, when I was giving this hackathon, I was a third year student, and in my last semester, so basically almost a fourth year student. So my project and my expectations were obviously a lot different than people who are in their first year, second years, right? So do what you think that you can do best, and just enjoy the journey. There is no need to be so stuck upon it. I don't even know why people who are in the first or second years are getting so frantic about this, that like we don't know what to fill in our resume or what to do in this hackathon. Like it's fine. You guys are like babies right now in college. So just enjoy, just participate, and get a taste of what real computer science culture is. I think that is the most important thing. And when at your time, I was also just a baby and kind of a noob, and I was just learning and exploring things, and then I kind of found my own ground, what I really wanted to do, what I really was inspired to do. So after that I just started doing it and having fun with it, and you learn with fun. That's what I think. So don't be so frantic on like what will happen. Just sit back and relax and do it. People who are in their third year or fourth year, I think they have a better experience with presentations and hackathons. So most probably they will be, obviously they will might do a better job, but it is also not said. I think in 2023, yeah, in 2023, I did not participate for Google Girl Hackathon. I was in my second year, but there was my junior who participated and she became a finalist. So basically, a first year student, and she became a finalist. So this is like, just imagine, a first year student became a finalist, and this is a very good thing for her. So similarly, you don't know what will happen. Just do your best and don't think about what questions are going to happen or something. Just think about what you have in control. Prepare for the DSC concepts and make your skills better. Learn something better. If you know HTML, CSS, then maybe learn JavaScript if you have time. Otherwise, make a project with what you know.
Amazing. That's the most beautiful and detailed answer that we have. Thanks, Tanisha. And Shreya says tips for resume. As a first year student, what things shall I add as I don't have too many skills being in first year?
Like I said, it's fine if you don't have any skills, write a resume. And uh, I don't really remember the resume I had when I was in my first year. I'd probably laugh at it right now from my fourth year self. But honestly, like I'm telling you, no one expects you to know anything or do anything in your first year. So just if you have any skills or anything that you want, like maybe you are kind of skilled in coding in Python or C++ or something, then you can write it that in your technical skills. Or if you are making a project, then you can also write that down. And if you have any extracurricular activities, I'm sure, then you can also write that down.
Okay, nice. So next question is of Aparna, and I have seen that she switched on her camera. So Aparna, you want to ask in the mic? I guess no. So Aparna is asking, I really didn't solve any DSA question. What platform would you suggest to start learning DSA?
Okay, so I think I started with lead code, so I think you can do it as well. Just get a good DSA list of questions, which have concepts, which have questions divided by concepts, and I think you're good to go. Just start solving it. So I use lead code mostly, so you can also use lead code.
Okay. And we have another question from Gunjan. She says, as a first year, I have basic knowledge of web development and I have projects on it. And I'm currently on my DSA journey. But I don't have knowledge of AIML. Do I start now for the hackathon? Will it be worth it considering the time? She's confused.
Uh, okay, so I mean, okay, so I don't know. Like, listen, you don't need to know AIML to make a hackathon project, okay? I knew it because that's what I am good at, okay? I'm not maybe good at, I think if there is a really good full stack engineer over here, maybe I won't compare to them in their own field. So that's because I've always specialized into one thing. If you're already learning HTML, CSS, and you want to learn more, like if you want to learn more in that web development field, then learn there. If you're interested in AIML, then get into AIML field. If you think that getting into AIML or any other field will be a waste of your time, then don't. It's fine. And if I have to suggest, I would just say, don't take it. Don't be so stressed. Just if you're interested in AIML, then get into it. If not, then there is no use. Then you're going to waste your time if even if you're going to learn something, because you're going to forget it after some time. So yeah.
Nice. So Aradhya, please ask.
Hi, Dee. I wanted to ask that how did you find that you're good at AIML? As in, how did you explore your area of interest that way?
Okay, so first of all, I never found I'm good at AIML. I just found what I wanted to do and what makes me have fun. What makes me, love computer science. And I think mainly I've always driven on innovation and, novelty, doing something new in this world or solving problems. And I thought that, solving them through AI is kind of very interesting. So that's why I got into AIML and I solved a lot of problems. I made a lot of projects, and in order to get good at solving problems using AIML. So, in order to explore, I would say that use your first year or second year very wisely. A lot of people start exploring from the second year. I did from my first year, but it's not compulsory. A lot of college students have fun in first year, and I think that's what I would recommend as well. So exploring, it means that you get into a lot of sessions. Like here you are here because you want to participate in Google Girl Hackathon. Start participating in other hackathons. Maybe there is a blockchain hackathon. Maybe there is a blockchain seminar. Maybe there is a full stack hackathon or something. And right now, because AI is kind of very trending, AI, GPT, LLMs, that's why these things are coming up. When I was in my second year, we had like basic models, like predictive maintenance, and like how should I say, like regression and other stuff. So I would say things will change. Just do what you think you'll love doing. Okay, so you'll start exploring from I mean, if you want to explore, you have to participate in a lot of different things that you don't know, but you find interesting. So that's how you will explore.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so
My
much for
pleasure.
asking. And next question is from Netra. As we are very short of time, it's already been 1 hour, so I'll take the questions really quick. It's okay, Tanisha?
Hmm. Yeah. I'll answer quickly now.
Okay, yeah. Netra is asking, I'm working on a project currently for a hackathon, and the problem statement is associated with career counseling of school students. I just wanted to ask how much accuracy do the judges really expect from such problem statement?
Problem statements associated with career counseling of school students.
Yeah.
So, like, you're making a chatbot for career counseling, right? So, I would say a fair score. It does not need to be too high, but if you have a lot of time, then you can, use it to be too high. So, okay, so I'll explain. Using okay, I mean this is a kind of a long answer, but I'll try to short it. I'll try to shorten it. You can either increase the accuracy, which means you can use your current AIML technique and get better accuracy by using fine tuning, and you can only get to a certain limit. ठीक है, उसके बाद after that you might need to switch to a different technique to get better accuracy. Otherwise, this is maybe the vertical term. Now think of it as in a breadth type of thing, like a broad term, where you are using different techniques to get better, different results, and every result is like maybe different. Like, okay, so if you're focusing on one accuracy metric, that is coming better in this one technique, but when you are focusing on a better accuracy metric, like one accuracy metric is reducing the false positives, which might be relevant for your case, but another accuracy metric is reducing false negatives. So you have to yourself know which so that is like the broad concept. So you have to think in which way you are going to make it, and yeah, it's a pretty extensive solution. And
Okay, like yeah, it's my first project, so I don't have much idea, but I'll see I learn from it, I think.
you know what I feel like, if it's your first project, then it's fine. Make one project, make one draft, and then whatever feedback you get from it, then improve on it. It's fine. It's your first project.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think next question. Let's
Okay.
go over quickly.
Yeah, next question is about a research paper. So I combined these questions. How you learn making projects through research paper, and how can one find good research paper? Any websites that you want to suggest?
Okay. So this is again a big question only. So okay. So I use IEEE papers. Like you can use the IEEE education wala site, and if you want to read them for free, you can use Sci-Hub. Uh, you'll just search it, and you can access any research paper freely. You don't have to pay a cost. And after that, how I make projects from research papers is that whatever domain I'm interested to make a project in, I research about that domain, I research about the problem, and the research papers tell me what all solutions I've already made. Or there is a research paper detailing how big the problem is, what is the scale of the problem. So what happens is, in that big problem, maybe there are some solutions which have already focused, on like two-thirds of the solution of the problem, but there is one third which is still left. So maybe I can make a solution for that one third, and I have to see a way that why is there not a solution till now. Maybe because the cost is too much, time it takes us too much. So I have to figure it out, and I make a project regarding it. So it's a like long term thing. The projects I make, they don't like, if I want to make good personal projects, then I don't really take like, like 3 days or 4 days. I take months to make it. So that's how I do it. Yeah, so that's how I do it from research papers. So that's what I say. Like, researching is a skill. If you research, you have to really be good at, getting the problem segment and making list of what this solution has already done, what this solution has already done, and what you think can provide. So that's how I do it.
Okay, nice. So we will be taking the last question of this session, and that is asked by Mayuri. Since I was a part of SIH, I observed that the judges had. Uh, I'm so sorry, anyone? Can you please switch off the mic? Thank you. Since I was a part of SIH, I observed that the judges had really different and high expectations at the finale from the project. And I assume that might be the case for Google Girl Hackathon. how did you manage those, especially at an individual level?
Okay, so because I make a lot of my personal projects, I had this thing that I'm actually, there are lots of different people. I'm someone who likes working individually, uh, but I also love team hackathons as well. So I already had an experience. Like I told you, I've won a lot of hackathons already. So that gives me an experience of what to do in a hackathon like this because we are given very little time. Now, I would tell you this from my experience of winning of hackathons, not just Google Girl Hackathon. This is from my experience of going to lots of hackathons. Every hackathon is different, and every hackathon has different expectations of what you do. Okay, maybe my project in this Google Girl Hackathon may won't win in another hackathon, which basically emphasizes on a very good end-to-end deployed system. Something you want to have your phone, something which is very accessible. Because what the solution I made was for the first responders, something which had to be researched, something which my solution was made with the intent to solve the ongoing problem. My solution was not made in order to be accessible to people, to get a lot of users, to be a good business idea. You see, maybe there are other hackathons that they want projects which can become good business ideas. They can have good users. So every hackathon you have to understand what is the expectation. Maybe in SIH, the I think what I'm getting from your line that they have different and high expectations at the finale was that they wanted something end to end deployed. They wanted something with a good business model. They wanted something which I can already use. Like after this hackathon, it's fully made and I can already use on my phone, or I can already use on my laptop, which is fine. I mean, you will have those hackathons, and I've also participated in those hackathons. But here, when I had that problem statement and I read it, I knew it that when I'm using satellite imagery, these things will be difficult. Having the models already, they're like, okay, so when you're working satellite imagery, the models become really big and really difficult to handle. So hosting it and deploying it was very difficult. So I don't think that it would be reasonable for anyone to expect that I would make something that anyone can open in their phone and then access it. So so that's why even though I'd hosted my other like three of my models on cloud, I only selected one model which can be accessed by everyone. So that was because I was given that amount of time, right? So don't I mean I think that you have to think what what you will be expected from this hackathon, right? Because every hackathon is going to be different. There is no one template which you will given, and if you follow the template you'll win every hackathon. That does not happen.
Amazing. So with this, that's the Q&A wrapped up. And actually, Tanisha, everyone loved you having us as a speaker. And Siddhi says thank you, Tanisha. Bharti says thank you so much. And Aditi has a very nice line for you. I think we will need one more session with Tanisha. There is a lot to know from her.
Oh
That's
my.
amazing. And
That's really sweet, actually. I'm actually like I just came back from work, and that's why kind of getting short for breath, and I'm kind of fumbling over my words. So I was thinking if I'm doing this session kind of nicely or not. But it's really sweet to know that you guys like it, and you guys are learning something. I'm like I would like to say that I'm so happy that so many people are interested to work on themselves, and instead of the mainstream academic stuff, you're working on extracurriculars, and you're engrossing yourself in these immersive national scale hackathons and competitions. I was like the all the questions, I think majority of the questions were based on what my experience was, and they were based on AIML instead of based on these hackathon questions. I actually thought that I would be getting a lot of questions like कि गूगल को हैकाथन कैसे जीते हैं आप, ये बताओ वो बताओ. Because I could share all my tips, but still how much can I like even tell. So but I was really happy that the people that were in the session, they wanted to learn, they wanted to know ki okay, maybe we won't use AIML for this hackathon, but how do you even make projects from research papers, or how do you even like classify, and where did you learn all this. So it was really really nice to interact with all of you guys. And this just makes me really happy that there are so many people who are up coming, and they're going to become such good software engineers, such good engineers in general in any field. And I really, I have really high expectations from everyone here. I hope you guys do really good, and I wish you all the best for this hackathon and all of your future hackathons.
Nice. And before wrapping up the session, the ritual, everyone, can you please switch on your camera so that we can click a group picture? I am giving you like 1 minute. Quick, quick, quick. Hurry up because we don't have time. I'm so sorry, but I have another really important meeting. So, if it's possible, can you all switch your camera really quick? Okay, this is the time. You can have a picture with Tanisha and you can post it on LinkedIn, definitely. Okay, and don't forget to tag Girls in Tech and Tanisha. Okay, that's all for. So, say cheese and something like this. Okay. Okay, thank you so much. Lakshmi, you can take over.
Thank you so much, Tanisha. The session was really amazing, and thanks to our amazing audience too. I'm sure everyone would have found it helpful and inspiring. And with that, we have a special announcement for you all. Uh, we girls in tech community have planned 7 days of back-to-back insightful and engaging session for whole Valentine's week, and we hope to see you all in the upcoming sessions.
Yeah, if you don't have any other plans, you can just come here because we will be having a lot of insightful sessions on jobs, internships, resumes, hackathons, networking, LinkedIn. Some of the speakers are finalized and some are is yet to be finalized. So we'll announce it really quick. And Tanisha, I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart because we really need this thing. As girls in Google Girls Hackathon deadline is just tomorrow, and we would have to organize a session so that all the girls can able to know about it. And on such a short notice, you came and enriched us with your presence and shared all the experience and insights with us. That's so sweet of you. Thank you
Oh
so
my
much for
God,
coming.
that's really sweet of you guys as well. And I'm really happy to be here. It was my pleasure today to interact with so many amazing people here. And I'm really happy, like, really I'm impressed and amazed by the community girls in tech. It's so good to see, a whole community of girls empowering each other and, learning from each other in tech. And I think a lot of people over here would have plans on Valentine's week, but still kind of look forward to the sessions and attend the sessions. I think they have been really helpful for a lot of people. So attend them and learn and have fun. That's what coding and computer science is all about: is have fun making something new.
Okay, so thank you so much, everyone. Now you can leave and have your dinner.
Okay, thank you. Bye everyone. Thank you for having me.
Bye, Tanisha. Bye, everyone.